Okay guys, Barcelona beat Real Oviedo 3-0 at the Camp Nou in a game that I thought that they should win. They have won it, but it wasn't exactly straightforward, and we need to talk about everything we saw. But first, if this is your first time seeing my videos, hi guys, I am just Max, and on this channel I talk about football from the La Liga, Prem, UCL, and it's always going to be Visca Barca for me, as I am a culé. So if this is something that you are interested in, please stick around, be my friend, be my homie. I would love to discuss football with you and of course grow this channel. But we have to get into what we saw from Barcelona and Real Oviedo in a game that has seen Barcelona go back to the top of La Liga. It was a little bit complicated, but it worked out in the end. But before we do that, let's talk about the lineup that Hansi Flick put together for this game. It was Joan Garcia in goal, and I thought that he did have a good game today. There were some opportunities for Real Oviedo. He did do his part in ensuring that Barcelona came out with a clean sheet and of course with all 3 points. Where I started to see something different was when we saw Joao Cancelo in the right back position ahead of Jules Koundé. I thought it was perhaps something that was maybe done to give Jules Koundé a bit of rest. He has been involved in a lot of Barcelona fixtures, so maybe this was done for him to get some rest. Eric Garcia and Pau Kubasi were Barcelona's preferred pairing today in the centre-back position, and I thought they did do a good job in marshalling that high line and catching Oviedo players offside. Certainly, it's been a long time since I saw this many offsides in the Barcelona game, and honestly, I thought they did a good job. Gerard Martin was in the left back position for Barcelona. He did play only until halftime because I did pick up an early yellow card, and Hansi Flick just didn't want to take the risk. But ultimately, he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a bad game. He was just kind of there. I know that the backline for Barcelona reads like this on paper, but I do want to mention that as the game continued to progress, they kept on interchanging positions. I think there was a time we even saw Eric Garcia in the left back position and Gerard Martin in the centre back position. Just wanted to flag that. In the midfield is where we saw the biggest change, because of course we do know that Pedri picked up an injury in the last time out. He's going to be out for a substantial amount of time. So in his position came in Marc Casado, and I thought he did okay. It wasn't anything glitz and glam, but he particularly, even if I were to be honest, I would say he struggled in the first half, but eventually he did grow into the game. Frankie de Jong did a lot of heavy lifting in that midfield for Barcelona. I did like the way he progressed the ball, especially in the second half. The first half though, I felt like they did struggle to keep the ball and to retain that possession and to kind of run out of trouble a little bit, but essentially it was a job well done in the end. Dani Olmo, in the first half, he did not have the most impressive performance. I didn't even see him in the first half for Barcelona, but he did break the deadlock, and for that, a good performance from him. In the front lines for Barcelona, it was Lamine Yamal coming back into that right wing position, and then Robert Lewandowski and Rafinha close rounded at the forward position. And I thought that Rafinha did not have a very good first half. He didn't have enough opportunities to sink his teeth into things because, again, you know, it was just a collective team thing in that first half, I should say, to be honest. But the second half, I felt like I did feel him a little bit. Robert Lewandowski will be feeling a little bit unlucky to leave this game without a goal. There were certainly certain opportunities, many opportunities for him to have, you know, gotten something here and there, but it just didn't work out for him today. But all in all, he did show us that given the opportunity, with the right movement, he can still find spaces in and around the box. Now, going into the first half, what I thought about it initially, I thought that Barcelona were a little bit lethargic. I thought that they were a little bit slow. Actually, they were not a little bit slow. They were very slow in the build-up, which kind of gave Oviedo the upper hand in being able to set their defenses, in being able to be just a little bit more disruptive. I felt like Barcelona in that first 20-30 minutes just couldn't get into the game. They couldn't find that their passing rhythm. And a lot of this came down to the fact that Oviedo were pressing them a little bit higher. And not just that they were losing the ball. They were not protecting the ball as much as they used to. And this is where I feel like we need to now take a step back and appreciate the work that Pedri does for Barcelona. Pedri is one of our press resistant players. A lot of the things that he does in terms of protecting the ball recoveries and, you know, making those line breaking passes, it may not always come on the stat sheets. And so a lot of people have arguments about why Barcelona fans are so obsessed with this player. But then when you see Barcelona play without Pedri, you tend to understand, because some of the things that we would have easily turned away from pressure with the ball and then make a breaking pass or make an out wide pass or move the Oviedo players central to wide and wide, all of that stuff, we weren't able to do that very well in the first half this time around. And it comes down to the fact that we did not have somebody on the ball who we could trust to really protect the ball. Frankie de Jong was losing the ball. Marc Casado was losing the ball. Dani Olmo was not in the game in the first half. Lamine Yamal was losing the ball. Rafinha was not in the game in the first half. And Lewandowski, though he was taking up good positions in the box, the final thing just didn't work out. To the point that we saw that many of the best chances in that first half, I would say, fell to Oviedo. And honestly, I was actually, as a Barcelona fan, praying that Barcelona do not end up going to concede a goal in that first half, because if that were the case, I did not foresee a comeback coming because of the way we played, and because I knew that immediately Oviedo were to get themselves a goal, they will immediately go into that low block that most small teams that play against Barcelona tend to do, and that would make a little bit of a complicated game even more complicated, which is not the vibe that we're going for. Thankfully, when the moments came, Joan Garcia was big and strong. He stood in the box and he prevented Oviedo from going forward. Not that I really expected any of the things that they put together to go in the back of the net, if I am being honest, but at least they tested him and he did end up responding. Towards the end of the first half, though, I would say that Barcelona finished the game like the Barcelona that I used to know, faster, more quicker, more intensity was brought there, to the point that Barcelona got their first shot on target through Rafinha, who tested the Oviedo goalkeeper through a very tight angle. And I lived for it. He just said to me that Barcelona was starting to understand what we wanted to do in this game. So I do think that they finished the first half a little bit better than they started it. But all in all, we did go into the first half 0-0. Now, when we came out into the second half is where things became a little bit more interesting, because I thought up until this point, like I mentioned, Oviedo had done a good job of containing Barcelona, resisting some of the things that they were able to do. Like, even though that Barcelona had some of the biggest ball possession numbers, it was happening in and around the midfield or in and around the Barcelona defensive field. So it wasn't as if they were testing the Oviedo goalkeeper. So it was kind of like Oviedo had done a very good job to contain Barcelona, but then the second half is where it all unravels, and it comes down to Oviedo starting to feel a little confident. They started to feel good in what they've been doing so far, which again, you're allowed to feel good, but when you are playing the La Liga champions and your opponent is Barcelona, you want to get rid of the ball a little bit quickly, which is what they did not do. They wanted to pass in and around the box, and this is where I have to give a huge credit to Lamine Yamal. Often he gets criticized for not pressing as much as he could, or maybe not being involved in the defensive side of things for Barcelona. And Barcelona's defense actually starts from attack. So here we see him in that first half on the 50th minute, basically pressing the Oviedo defender in the box. He kind of makes the defender makes a mistake, and the ball kind of slips to Rafinha, who passes it back to Lamine Yamal, who finds Dani Olmo, who is just continuing his sensational run of form. We did see him score a worldie of a goal for Barcelona against Slavia Prague on Wednesday. He did the same thing today. It was not the same level of technique or the same level of quality, but it was definitely a shot that was well needed. And honestly, as a Barcelona fan, from that moment, I was able to breathe a sigh of relief, because up until this point, Oviedo had been nothing but annoying. Again, I'm a Barca fan, so I'm allowed to say that. Okay, I was biased. I was watching the game. I was biased. This is where I love Rafinha. He's always so aware of an opportunity to press. And even in a game where he wasn't having his best football, but he was still pressing. And the second goal for Barcelona comes shortly after that on the 57th minute. And it all comes from Rafinha being a pesky little presser. And it comes again from Oviedo making a mistake. The Oviedo defender wanted to do a back pass because he was under pressure from Rafinha to the goalkeeper. He passes the ball a little bit short. Rafinha is able to run onto the ball, chips the goalkeeper. Very, very beautiful finish for Barcelona. And within the space of 5 minutes, Barcelona have managed to go from 0-0 to 2-0 up. And Oviedo players and coaching staff, they must be looking and thinking to themselves, how has this happened? Because like I said, they contained Barcelona for 5 to 45 minutes in the first half, the first 5 minutes in the second half, all for it to be undone by two very, very defensive mistakes on their part, that they could have easily just not had done. Barcelona are calm, things are cruising very well. And then Hansi Flick decides to make some changes. We did see Kunde, he did come on at halftime from Gerard Martin, who picked up that yellow card. At some points during the second half, we did see Marc Bernal, Rooney Baggi, Fermin Lopez and Alejandro Balde. We did see Rafinha and Lamine Yamal again at different points in the second half get rested, because again at this point we knew that Barcelona had already secured the win. Barcelona will go on ahead to add one more goal, and this time it's courtesy of Lamine Yamal. And this one, it's not a defensive mistake from Real Oviedo. It's a really, really beautiful goal from Barcelona. If Barcelona have been trying to put something together on their own, Dani Olmo gets the ball all the way to the byline. He puts a cross into the 18, and this finish is magical. This finish is sensational. The finish is brilliant. It is Lamine Yamal with a scissors kick, an acrobatic finish. What a collector's goal, item of a goal. I live for him. Barcelona go 3-0 ahead of Oviedo, and honestly they could have added a bit more goals if they wanted to. Like I said in my opener, Lewandowski, he could have had a goal here and there. He really could have. He would be looking at this game and thinking, how have I not scored? Because there was a header, there was a back post, there was different things that happened for him, but it just didn't come off. But all in all, I'm happy to see that Barcelona walk away with all 3 points in a game that proved unnecessarily complicated, but we've managed it. We got the job done. We're out of here. We're back to the top of La Liga, and now we're going to turn our attention to Copenhagen in the midweek, when we have to play that Champions League, because it's all hands on deck for us to secure that top 8 qualifier positions. We do not, and I repeat, we do not want to play those playoffs. We cannot afford it, especially with Pedri being out and injuries here and there. Our schedule is already packed, so hopefully Hansi Flick is going to get the combination right on Wednesday. But that has been it for me on this game. Who was your man of the match? What stood out to you? And of course, if you've watched up until this point, remember to like, subscribe and share. It's always going to be Visca Barca for me. Let me know what you thought about this game in the comment section, and until next time, bye bye.